Good morning, beautiful people. I hope that you're having an amazing day. President Trump met with the Prime Minister of the Republic of Iraq in a bilateral meeting. I said Iraq. Yes, with Iraq. We touched a little bit on what's happening in the Middle East. And of course, everything I share is just for educational purposes to show you what's happening around the world. I'm going to get right into the video. There's Trump.
Beautiful.
Is it good?
Your house.
It's a great place. This week or next week, but massive, among the largest. So they have.
Morning, Melissa.
They have done a fantastic
Melissa?
job over the last very short period of time. But they have a great leader, the new prime minister. He's a great leader. I think he's going to be there for a long period of time. And it's great to have you at the White House. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And he's a young man. He's young and he's handsome, which I don't like. I'm not happy about that.
شكرا جزيلا. لقد عقدنا اجتماعا جيدا وقد دعوته إلى وجبة الغداء، وهذا لم يكن ضمن البرنامج والجدول الذي اتفقنا عليه، لكن هنالك كيمياء عظيمة بيننا وبينهم. رئيس الوزراء يقوم بعمل رائع. أنا لم يتوقع أحد أنه سيفوز في هذه الانتخابات، لكن المرشح المضاد له كان شخص لم يعجبني ولم تكن لديه آراء جيدة تجاه أمريكا، لكن كان من المهم جدا لي أن تفوزوا أنتم في هذه الانتخابات، وأنتم تقومون بعمل رائع جدا. والآن لدينا فائز جديد لم تكن حظوظه كبيرة، لكنه مع ذلك نجح في هذه الانتخابات. هو شرف عظيم بالنسبة لي أن أستضيف دولة رئيس الوزراء هنا في البيت الأبيض. هو محارب عظيم، وهو أيضا من المعجبين بأمريكا والولايات المتحدة. العراق طبعا دولة غنية لديها كثير من الاحتياطات النفطية، وهي دولة مليئة بالثروات، وفي وقت قصير تمكنتم من القيام بالكثير وتغيير، على الأقل تغيير شعور العراقيين تجاه أمريكا. وكما قال كريس وزير النفط وأشار إلى ذلك، أن هنالك صفقات تجارية كبيرة في مجال النفط سوف يتم الإعلان عنها هذا الأسبوع. أنتم تقومون بعمل رائع وقمتم بعمل رائع خلال وقت قصير. رئيس الوزراء طبعا هو أيضا قائد عظيم، وأعتقد أنكم ستخدمون في هذا المنصب لمدة طويلة. طبعا أنتم في مقتبل العمر، أنتم شاب أيضا ووسيم، وهذا طبعا لا يعجبني، لكن مع ذلك يشرفني أن أستضيفكم هنا.
Please.
Thank you. أشكر حفاوة الاستقبال إلى فخامة الرئيس دونالد ترامب.
Thank you for the warm welcome by His Excellency President Trump.
وهذه هي زيارتي الأولى
This is my first visit
إلى الولايات المتحدة
to the
الأمريكية.
United States of America.
فهذه الزيارة لم تكن زيارة عابرة،
This visit was not just like a visit,
وإنما زيارة إعلان شراكة اقتصادية.
rather it's an announcement of economic partnership
تحدثت مع فخامة الرئيس.
where I talked to His Excellency.
30/9 سوف تخرج القوات
By
الأمريكية،
the 30th of September, the U.S. forces will be out of Iraq,
وسوف تدخل الشركات الأمريكية.
while the U.S. companies will be inside Iraq.
ودائما تخلق العلاقة المجتمعية هي الشراكة الاقتصادية وليس العسكرية.
While the social relations is about like economy, it's not like about like military relations.
أنقل تحياتي
I would convey my greetings
من أقدم حضارة في
from
العالم
the oldest civilization in the world
إلى أكبر قلب اقتصادي
to
في
the
العالم
biggest
وتكنولوجيا.
economic and technology heart in the world.
وأكرر شكري لفخامة الرئيس.
Good. Well, thank you very much. Please. Go ahead.
سمو سعادة رئيس الوزراء، ما تطلب أمريكي لحصر السلاح الميليشيات في يد الدولة وكان اجتماع في اليوم وعدم مهاجمة الوجوه، هل هذه أهداف التي تتحقق قبل سبتمبر؟ Mr. President, if I may.
Who are you with?
I'm with the Arabia. I come in the Middle East from my passport, so no I'm
Okay.
Sir, is the military attack on Iran, is this a strategy to bring them back to the table? Was it to degrade them so the regime regime that eventually falls.
Well, we don't think we need the military there anymore. It's a very a big operation. And what we do have is the oil companies are all going in now, and they're doing partnerships with Iraq, and they're getting along very well. The relationship is a whole big relationship where we don't need the military there. We're there to help them. We're there to protect them if need be, but we don't think that's going to be necessary. And their primary, I consider an opponent. They might have considered a friend, but I consider that an opponent was Iran, was a big burden on Iraq because they were the bully of the Middle East, as you know. And we were just talking about that, but they're not going to have that problem anymore because Iran has been very much destabilized, and really their military power is just a tiny fraction of what it was just 4 months ago. So they're not going to have that problem. I think that it's really, in a sense, it's given them freedom to do what they have to do. And I think that's one of the reasons that our oil companies are going in there at levels that have never been seen before. So it's pretty good. You want to answer?
Good morning, Kaiser member. Thank you, and my friend. Good to see you.
شكرا جزيلا على السؤال.
Thank you for your question.
ابتداء في منهاج الحكومي
According to the program of the government,
هو حصر سلاح بيد الدولة،
is to restrict the possession of weapons to the state.
وهذه نقطة أساسية
And this is a basic point.
ولدي قرار بها غير قابل للخيار.
And this is like a decision, it's not an option.
تم استلام
We received
أسلحة كثيرة من قبل بعض الفصائل،
weapons by different factions,
واللي يسلم سلاحه
and whoever surrender his weapon
ويتحول إلى جهة سياسية ومدنية.
turned into like a political or civilian.
من ناحيتنا سيتم التعاون معه.
We will cooperate with them.
بعد 30/9
After the 30th of September,
لا حاجة لوجود أي
there's
فصائل،
no any need for the presence of any faction,
لكون الفصائل
because factions
هي حاجة وليس محنة،
is a need, it's not a profession.
وماكو مبرر لبقائهم بعد
There's
30/9.
no any justification for their existence after the 30th of September.
إن شاء الله نهاية هذا العام أو بداية العام
So hopefully
القادم
by the end of this year or by the beginning of the next year,
سوف نعلن أكبر مؤتمر السيادة الوطني.
the sovereignty conference is the biggest conference in the region.
قرار العراق بيد العراقيين،
The Iraqi decision is by the hand of the Iraqis only,
وقواتنا الأمنية قادرة على حماية
and
أراضيها.
our security forces are capable of protecting their borders.
بعد 30/9
After the 30th of September,
لا نسمح لأي جهة تحمل سلاح خارج نطاق
we
الدولة.
never accept for any entity to carry weapons outside the control of a state.
Thank you, President Trump. I have two questions. I was wondering if you could explain your changing thinking on the Strait of Hormuz, applying a 20% fee. How did you get to the decision you just
Yeah,
announced?
so when I put that out yesterday, we've been doing that for many, many years. It was never fair to me that we would be guarding the strait when we basically don't take any, we don't need the oil at all. And it wasn't important for us, but it was important for allies. It was important for people that we get along with very well, including the major Gulf state countries. So I put it out yesterday. I thought it was good. I was called by different people, different countries, kings and emirs, and all of the people that we all know and we all love. And they've been very strong partners. And they said, we'd love to do it a different way. We'd love to invest in the United States with billions and billions of dollars and continue our record setting, because there's never been a time like this with the United States, with the factories, with the plants, with everything else. And we would like to invest tremendously in the United States as opposed to charging a fee. And I like that actually, because I don't think anybody should be able to charge a fee for the strait or for any other strait relationship into that position. But we were doing it as a reimbursement. The Gulf states are going to invest a tremendous amount of money into the United States, and that was very satisfactory to me. I think it's actually much better.
If I could also ask, are you aware of why the FBI is looking into Senator Graham's death? Have you gotten any updates on why they were at his home?
Well, I don't know why, because I think, he had a problem. His father had a very similar problem, as you know. It's very unique. At first, I heard it was clogged arteries, because he did have clogged arteries. He had a problem with that. He was I wish he took better care of himself. I say, you can solve that problem, but what happened is actually something that's very hard to detect. It was not related to any blockage. It was a totally different thing. And supposedly, and I've watched all the medical reports, I've had the doctors from the White House come in and explain what happened. And this is something that is very undetectable. And if it happens, there's not much you can do about it. Sounds unfortunate, but there's not much you can do about it. If you look at his father died of the same thing at about the same age. So there was not much. They say it's almost undetectable. You can detect it by if you have a very bad back. That's a sign. It's a bad sign. So if anybody has a bad back, it's a pretty rough thing to think about. But the fact that's one of the primary signs, and when that bursts, which it did, it burst. There's not much. So I don't see a lot of evil there. I know there's all sorts of conspiracy theories going along, and I don't think the FBI. I think the FBI is wasting their time if they're doing that. Yeah.
Sir, just on the prior question, the Strait whole idea for you, that's dead now. That's
UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait, primarily, and then others. I spoke to all of them, and they would love to invest more money in the United States at record amounts, and that would be very acceptable. And this way, there's no fee. I don't like the concept of a fee, but at the same time, it's not fair that we're protecting this strait for the entire world, for China and everyone. I don't mind protecting it for China. I don't mind protecting it for anybody, but it's unfair that we're not in somehow compensated. And we've been doing this for many years. It's bothered me 25 years ago. It bothered me. During my first term, I was doing things like you have to invest in the United States. But by doing it that way, there's no fee. They're investing and they're getting a return on their money, and it's good. But they're going to be making massive investments into the United States, and I like that much better.
Can I ask you a bit about the meeting you had today, whether you discussed OPEC? There's been some reporting that Iraq is pushing for changes to OPEC, a larger share.
Would you like to know about it?
Are you considering, Mr. Prime Minister, leaving OPEC, or are you pushing for changes within it? And Mr. President, would you support
Well, I support him.
pressing for changes?
I supported him very early in something I rarely do, but I've had great successes endorsing. We just had Colombia, which was a big one. Argentina was a big one. We had many. I've endorsed, I think everybody I've endorsed from a foreign standpoint, they just win.
Yeah.
And, I've been hearing great things. I'm a student of a lot of history, and I do know a lot about the history of Iraq. And I've watched what was happening in Iraq with the elections. And I put a very strong endorsement out because I was very unhappy with the man that was supposed to win the election. And this great gentleman, I think he's going to win. He won. So I'm very happy about that. As far as OPEC, that's his decision. And you might ask him that question.
لا أوبك إحنا أحد البلدان المؤسسة لها.
We are one of the countries that established OPEC.
لكن حقنا حصة منصف العراق.
We need like a fair for Iraq.
حارب داعش.
Iraq fought ISIS
والإرهاب بأجمعه.
and terrorism at all.
وبدعم الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية.
Support of the United States of America.
وهذه الحرب مع داعش.
This fight with ISIS
كلفتنا نفقات كبيرة.
huge amounts of money.
البنية التحتية العراقية.
Structure.
مقدار الضرر اللي أصاب العراق.
Damage that really what was against Iraq
أكثر من 400 مليار دولار.
is more than $400 billion.
لليوم بعض العراقيين مدن مدمرة.
Until today, like some Iraqi cities are totally destroyed.
ويسكنون في مخيمات.
Can't
إلى
have a plan to get back to their.
صفة
We need a fair share.
لا أكثر من
We
ذلك.
need a fair share.
I might just answer because if you remember, even though I was a civilian and had no thought of running for president, I get a disproportionate amount of publicity, as you probably heard. And I used to say, don't go into Iraq. don't attack Iraq. Frankly, they attacked the wrong country, and they did a lot of damage. Yes.
Thank you. Given how the Iranians have been behaving, do you have any regrets about lifting the naval blockade or giving the sanctions
No.
waivers?
No, again, I wanted to give them a chance and make a deal. You know, we had a deal 2 days ago. It was done. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't do it. They didn't like something about the deal. They couldn't do it. And they shot first. And that was a big mistake that they shot first because we have been knocking the hell out of them. They're very difficult people. 47 years we put up with it. The SS Cole, you go back all the way, thousands of people, thousands of Americans were killed. A lot of soldiers were killed. A lot of soldiers are walking around or not walking around. I mean, they've been so badly injured. The arms, the legs, the face, with the Soleimani, with the bomb. They call it the roadside bomb. Most people call it the roadside bomb. It's a disaster. And I killed him in my first administration. Had I not, it might be a different story today. He was a mad genius. He was probably a madman, but he was a general, and he had total control over the country. And I actually think the leaders of Iran were afraid of Soleimani. But I killed him. By the way, with him went a very bad person also. They happened to be meeting each other at the airport. And a very bad person from Iraq happened to be a leader of Iraq, happened to be killed in that same incident. So I don't know if I did you a favor or not. I've never asked you that question. You probably would know better than me. But no, I think that what we've done to Iran is we've taken away almost all of their military capability. Go ahead. Explain it. Explain it. All that, he has to hear that. Go ahead.
هو بيسأل عن قاسم سليماني وأنه كيف تم قتله على يده في الولاية الأولى له في عندما كان رئيسا للولايات المتحدة. فالفكرة هو طبعا كان شخص ذكي جدا وعبقري، لكنه كان شرير بنهاية المطاف. في حادث استهداف وقتل عراقي كان في صحبته، كانوا يلتقوا في مطار في العراق في بغداد. فهو بيسأل هل هو كان عملكم خدمة أم لا؟ ما هي النظرة بالنسبة لمقتل سليماني؟
أنا في ذاك الوقت لا أمارس
At
السياسة.
that time, I was not in politics.
وأريد كل جايتي نتحدث عن المستقبل السوي عن الماضي القديم.
Now I gotta affect the past.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Kurdi, sir. Mr. President, thank you for your time. Last year in May, the Prime Minister of Kurdistan region, Masroor Barzani, signed about $110 billion in energy deals with U.S. companies here in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Mr. President, if Baghdad and Erbil work together better, that investment could grow. What is your message and advice to the leaders in Baghdad and Erbil to work together? Why I'm asking this question? Because you are our miracle makers, Mr. President.
I love this question. It's my favorite question so far, by far. Thank you very much for the question. Baghdad, I think, and this country, we're going to make some tremendous music together. We haven't been dealing very much over the last 4 or 5 years with the previous administration. Iraq has tremendous potential because of their oil and because of other things, but because of their oil. And we're going to be doing a lot of deals. We're going to create a lot of jobs for both countries. And we're going to be taking out a lot of oil. A lot of oil is coming out. And the American companies are doing it. Mostly American companies now. They don't want to do business with others. They want to do business with. This was going to be a great prime minister, and I fought for that.
How would you describe your relationship with Kurdistan regional government at this time? Because Prime Minister yesterday had a statement and fully support you.
كيف ترون علاقتكم مع كردستان اليوم بين السيد رئيس الوزراء؟
أنا أنظر العراق جسد
I look at Iraq as a body,
كل رقعة جغرافية في العراق هي عضو من
And
جسدي،
each part of Iraq is part of my own body.
فما راح أميز عضو عن
So
آخر،
I would never distinguish between any organ,
ولا يمكن أن أقطع جزء من جسدي
and
بيدي.
I cannot cut off any part of any organ from my own body.
كردستان جزء مهم من العراق،
Kurdistan is such an important part of Iraq,
لا يختلفون عن البصرة وعن المحافظات
no
الأخرى.
different than Basra and other provinces.
But because such nice things were said about him, that means he likes the man that said those nice things. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I have a question for you and a question for Prime
Go
Minister.
ahead.
The first question, Mr. Prime Minister, why did you choose the United States as your first trade partner? And what next concrete steps do you take to go back to make sure that
أنا ورثت بلد ثقيل،
I inherited such a heavy burden country.
وأنا كماجستير مالية
I, as I have a master's degree in finance,
حللت الوضع الاقتصادي للبلد.
I analyzed the economic situation of the country.
هذا الثقل يراد معي شريك استراتيجي يحمله
With
معي،
this burden, I need such a strategic partner to really lift this burden.
وأهم شريك استراتيجي في
The
العالم
most important strategic partnership in
هو الولايات
the world
المتحدة
is the
الأمريكية.
United States of America.
فلن تكن زيارتي عابرة أو من فراغ،
It wasn't just like any visit or like I came out of
ولم تكن عاطفية
So
وإنما
it's not
عقلية.
emotional, it's about mind.
Inflation slowed to 3.5%.
Yeah, thank you.
Will this trend hold now that strikes on Iran?
I think so. I think it's going to, inflation's down. We inherited the worst inflation in the history. They say 48 years. It was the worst in the history of the country from Biden, Sleepy Joe. He was sleepy, but boy, he could create inflation like nobody. And I inherited that, and I got blamed for it. And it's not my fault. We are putting it to sleep, and we've done a great job. Scott and Howard and Marco and even Pete, because he's watching his dollars, right? But they've done a fantastic job. We've all done a fantastic job. So we had the worst inflation in history and the history of our country. I mean, we had months where it was 9 and 10%. And now we have a report just came out. It was just released. Thank you for bringing it up. But the report was incredible. Inflation is way down. That means prices are coming way down. And we're doing a great job. And remember that for the midterms. I say to that camera, remember that because nobody else could do it. Prices are way down. Prices are coming way down, and we're going to bring them much lower yet.
Around the world and around the nation are anticipating your big announcement on Thursday night regarding election machines and integrity. Can you give us sort of a sneak peek about what to expect and tell us?
Well, I'd rather save it. It will concern that subject, and we'll have a couple of other things to say also. But I'd rather save it, but it's really big news. It's really, really big news. And our country has to shape up. But that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday is it doesn't get bigger because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too, but it's going to be a very big announcement. Yeah.
Mr. President, your administration pushed hard to shape Iraq's leadership and tied U.S. support to disarming Iran-backed factions. With the September 15th deadline, weeks away, what happened in Baghdad misses it, and does the U.S. troops withdraw from Kurdistan region still proceed on schedule?
I think everything's on schedule. We have a great, here we are. I mean, we're right now, I even called for a lunch that wasn't scheduled, okay? So in that way, but no, we usually, I don't think I've ever done that where we didn't have lunch. I said, let's have lunch. You know why? Because I like them. I like them. So I think that's all gonna, yeah.
Sir, you want this Russia sanctions bill signed within the next week or two, and will you sign it?
Well, I know that Lindsay wanted it very badly. I think they may be adding Iran to it. Big thing if they did that. They may add Hezbollah too. Just put them if you do business with Hezbollah. So we're looking at that, but they're seriously thinking, and this is in honor of Lindsay. This was his thing. He wanted this more than any other thing. You know how he felt. And there's a good chance that it gets done, but they'd like to add Iran and they'd like to add Hezbollah to it. That's what I'm hearing. So.
And if that means secondary sanctions on China, India,
Well, we'll have to look. That hasn't been discussed.
My question is, are you, the Prime Minister, Ali Zaidi, has not campaigned to pay women's held by Malaysia under the control of the state. How does your administration support him to accomplish this vision? And my second question, how do you envision the future relations between Kurdistan region and Iraq?
I think everything is going to work out. I think people are, the Middle East, believe it or not, is coming together. We're getting rid of the bully of the Middle East. Iran was the bully of the Middle East. They bullied Iraq. They bullied every country. There was fear all over the Middle East with other countries. I understand that, but there was fear. But there's no fear anymore because their military capability has been knocked to hell, and there's no fear. I think the Middle East is coming together like it's never come together before. You can't have a dominant factor like Iran that would kill.
I think that some of you are really ignorant saying that I'm a Trump supporter because I'm playing the news. I play what's going on. I haven't even given you guys my commentary. So if you leave, just go quietly. Bye.
52,000 protesters. You know, they killed. Nobody likes talking about that. I don't like talking about it. They killed 52,000 protesters. So the bottom line, all regions, I believe, are coming together. And I think it's going to be, this is going to be one of the great leaders right here. It's going to be one of the great leaders in the Middle East. Go ahead, please. Just explain that, please.
أعتقد إنه الآن الشرق الأوسط قد تم ترتيب أوضاعه لأنه إيران ضعفت الآن وهي كانت تتنمر على الجميع فالآن انتهى هذا الدور ولا يمكن أن نسمح لقوة واحدة أو بلد واحد بأن يحرر كامل المنطقة يعني الناس يغفلون عن أن إيران كذلك الحكومة الإيرانية قتلت 52,000 متظاهر في إيران طبعا نحن لا يمكننا نحن لا نتحدث عن ذلك وأنا نفسي يعني أنا الرئيس أكره إنه أن أفكر في هذا الأمر لكنهم كذلك والآن انتهى هذا الدور ولم يعد لإيران أي دور في التنمر على أي من جيرانهم.
And I think we could go into this for a long time. And the bottom line is that we have a fantastic relationship with many countries now. I just came back from NATO. Many of you were there and you saw how that worked out. It was a phenomenal, it was a love fest, to be honest. And they love the United States. They even like me, but they love the United States. And we're going to cut costs there by hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe. But the NATO event was incredible. Today's event is incredible. This is a potentially really great country. And many people would say it's a great country. We're helping it. We want to help it. We have a fantastic relationship with the new prime minister. He's a strong person. He's a very brilliant guy. He's very much acknowledged. Or he couldn't have won that election. That was a highly competitive election. And he went out and won. And it's a big story. I mean, it's a big, big story. And I just want to say that the United States has never done better. We're doing well. You know, more people are working today in the United States than at any time in history. We have more things being built, factories, plants, AI, automobile plants are being built at record numbers, more than we've ever had ever before. The tariffs have been used very judiciously and properly, and companies are pouring in, and countries are pouring into this country to build factories because when they build them, they have no tariffs. And we have numbers, $19.2 trillion. As an example, under Biden, it was less than 1 trillion for 4 years. We're at 19.2 trillion for 12 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Our relationship with Iraq is, I would say, it went from being not so good to being outstanding. And we're going to have a long-term relationship with Iraq. We're going to have a long-term relationship with a man that will be a great leader. Mark my words. I knew what I was doing. This man is going to be a great leader in the Middle East, beyond Iraq. His influence is going to spread all throughout the Middle East. And we're very happy about it. And we are very happy to have you with us. Thank you very much. I don't think there's anything much else you can ask us. This is a very important meeting. It's something I've never done before. No lunch was scheduled. I said, let's have lunch. I've never done that before. Sometimes we'll have a lunch scheduled, but I've never done this. Right, Susie? This is a first. So I have no idea what we're going to be eating, but it'll be fine. But we're doing it because we like the people that we're with. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much.
All right, I have a moderator here so I can get out of the chat. Ooh, some of you just want to argue. I just play the news. I play the news. You guys do what you want with it. Okay? Don't attack the host. You guys can fight with each other, but don't fight with me because my mods will get you together. Okay. All right. Let me play this short clip. Hey, Iron Lion. Let me play this short clip before we get to what's happening in Iran. What did you guys think of that meeting with Iraq, though? Oh, wait. Where is it? This is so short. I'm just showing it to you just because that's what we do here. Damn it. Why are they mad? What are they mad about? Huh? Some people just wake up angry. You mentioned Donald Trump and all of a sudden you just, oh my goodness. Some of you need to really chill out. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. Okay. All right, guys. Just let me have my own moment. Oh no, that's not you. Why do I like this patriotic stuff though? This is like, is he even speaking here? Before he's the Prime Minister of Iraq. So,
President Trump sharing a message to the Iraqi people with the new Prime Minister here, sir.
Love Iraq.
Do you think a peace deal with Iran?
Represent this man just won a big election. They are very well represented. I can tell you that. Thank you very much.
all right, I'm sorry, you guys. That was more for me than anybody else. But let me give you some real news.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with President Zelensky.
I showed you guys.
Talked a little while, and we speak on occasion.
I already showed you guys the meeting with Zelensky. That was interesting. Let's move to Iran. I don't have that much time with you today. Here we go. I got you.
President Trump says U.S. strikes will continue in Iran, with each day getting worse than the last. He says he's saving energy targets for last and did reiterate that Iran has no choice but to make a deal. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst is at the White House, where he spoke exclusively with President Trump earlier today about his plans for the Middle East. Good evening, Trey.
Yeah, Brett, good evening. President Trump told Fox News that strikes against Iran will continue tonight and expand next week if the Iranians are unwilling to make a deal. Here's more of our exclusive interview from the White House.
Mr. President, thank you for speaking with Fox News.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We have seen extensive U.S. strikes against Iran for 3 consecutive nights now. This comes after the Iranians attacked vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. How would you describe what is happening at this moment? Has the war resumed?
Well, I guess you could define it any way you want, but certainly we're beating them up really badly. They have to be beat up. We're hitting them very, very hard. We're hitting every single thing that they have along the shore, along the waterfront. You know, if you look at the Strait of Hormuz, it's now, we're finding it hard to find where they have anything. We have to stop it. We have to keep it open. I was going to charge a fee, but instead they'd rather spend a lot of money in the United States, which frankly is better because I don't like the idea of a fee. It's got to remain free because otherwise others will do the same thing. But I think we've made tremendous progress.
So your objectives are to ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon, to keep the strait open, and to degrade the Iranian military. Can those objectives be completed in an air campaign alone, or does this require a ground component?
Well, I think they're completed now, honestly. If we left right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild what they have. The only way you can negotiate with these people is through strength, and the only strength is military strength. And that's what we've done. And
I mean, literally 2 days ago, we had a deal, and then they broke it at the last moment. They broke it.
Will these strikes continue?
They'll continue until I say it's enough. I mean, they'll continue. They've been, the word the military likes to use is degrade. They've been degraded to a very low level. And they have fight. It's like a great boxer. You think you have him beat, and then all of a sudden he comes back and he gives you a shot. They have some fight left, but they don't have much. And their weapon degrading has been incredible at a level. Nobody thought it was possible to do it this quickly.
You posted today on True Social comments that you made back in 1988 about Kharg Island. And at the time you said, one bullet shot at one of our men or ships, and I'd do a number on Kharg Island, I'd go in and take it.
Yeah.
Do you still intend to take Kharg Island?
So I can't say that to you because if I did, it would be foolish, right? But it'd be nice to make a little headlines, but it would be foolish. But I'll tell you about Kharg Island. So we've already...
Are you ruling out a ground campaign in a limited capacity?
I don't want to say that either, but I would say no if I thought it was appropriate. I'd say sometimes you need a ground campaign, but we have other people that will do the ground campaign for us. But we already hit Kharg Island, as you know, twice, even 3 times. I said, hit everything but the oil. Just leave that little area from 25 yards out. Leave that little area. Don't touch the oil, because I don't want that in terms of the world economy. It's a chunk of the world economy. So we haven't hit that. At some point we could, but I think it's unlikely. As far as taking it is concerned, if we degrade them far enough and deep enough back, I would do that.
Do you anticipate that the strikes we're seeing this week against Iran will expand? Are you considering hitting energy targets or other locations inside of Iran?
I'll save the energy targets for last, but ultimately we'll hit energy targets, yeah. But we're going to hit them very hard tonight. We're going to hit them very hard tomorrow night. We're going to hit them very hard the night after. And then next week it gets really bad for them, because next week comes the power plants. Next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate.
Do you believe the Iranians are serious about making a deal?
I think they have no choice.
Why haven't they yet?
I think if I didn't do the way I'm doing, they would never make a deal. They would have never made a deal with Obama. That deal was the worst. What they did sign was a worthless piece of paper. What they signed with Obama was a worthless piece of paper that was a road to a nuclear weapon. And what I have is a wall. There will be no nuclear weapon. I'll never sign. And when you listed the 3 things, by far the most important is they will not have a nuclear weapon.
Take me back to the moment before February 28th, when you made the decision to launch Operation Epic Fury. Was there a specific piece of intelligence that made you decide to launch this operation?
Well, it was specific in the sense that it just never stops, and they're going to go forward, and they wanted a nuclear weapon. We knew they wanted a nuclear weapon. If they have a nuclear weapon, Israel wouldn't be here. Look,
they said they didn't want a nuclear weapon.
Well, they say that. Everything they say is a lie. They lie. I've never seen anything like it. They also come out and they'll tell you we never discussed nuclear, and we're in a room for 5 hours. That's all we discussed. And they'll walk out and say, nuclear was not discussed. Everything was discussed ad nauseum. They were going to have a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks. Had we not done the B-2 bombers, had we not bombed their nuclear sites, their 3 nuclear sites, and there's another one we're looking at right now, as you know.
Pickaxe Mountain.
We're looking at Pickaxe because somebody said there's a little activity. You know, we have cameras, Space Force, we have cameras that they can read the badge, they can read your name, probably Mohammed. They can read your name on a badge from space. And every area of Pickaxe, but the other 3 are covered.
But specifically
if they make any move, we immediately go and do whatever we have to do. But they haven't. They were so decimated.
Some weapons experts say that the United States doesn't have the ability to strike deep enough with these bunker buster bombs at Pickaxe Mountain.
They can go deep. We have good stuff. Nobody knows about Pickaxe. By the way, nobody knows if they even are doing anything in Pickaxe. It's just something that comes up. We have cameras on it. There's very little activity there. But if there's even just a small amount, we'll hit it, and we'll hit it hard.
I want to ask you about the Telegon facility. It's outside of Tehran, and it was hit in U.S. strikes previously. These are satellite images from June and July.
Okay.
And on June 22nd, you can see activity at this site.
Yeah.
And then on July 7th, there is movement. There are trucks and cranes, and in that image, freshly poured concrete.
Right.
What do these images say to you?
What I'm hearing is that they put, and what they've watched it, that they poured concrete to close up the entrances so we couldn't get into it. So that's what they're saying. But we can hit that one very easily. You know, it only takes a matter of minutes for us to do it and do major damage. And when they know it's coming, they disappear. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm seeing here.
And sir, on Monday, you announced that the United States is reimposing the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports.
Started now.
Shipping data trackers indicate that just 10 vessels passed through the Strait of Hormuz on Monday, less than 10% of what normally goes through this critical waterway.
Mm-hmm.
When you say the strait is open, what do you mean?
It's open if people want to go through it. We're not opening it for Iran. That's the only one it's closed for. It's closed for Iran, both in and out, but it's open now. A lot of things have happened, Trey, in the last few months. Pipelines are being built. We're coming up with great alternatives, including Texas, including Alaska.
You've called the new leadership in Iran a changed regime. Do you still believe that?
Well, I knew the first group for a little while, and they were evil, and they're no longer with us. I knew the second group also a little bit better, and they were evil, and they're no longer with us. And the third group, they have some bad ones in there, some very bad ones in there.
Just
and
some?
I think they're the ones that are stopping a deal.
So are you negotiating with the wrong people?
Well, now I don't want to negotiate now. I said, let's not negotiate. 3 days ago, we had a deal.
When was the last time you spoke with an Iranian official?
Well, not me, but let's say my representatives. I have spoken to them, but my representatives over the course of.
And what message was delivered?
They want to make a deal, but every time they make a deal, they break it. They don't want to die. People don't want to die. Yeah, about an hour ago.
And what message was delivered?
You better make a deal. You're not going to have anybody left. We're being very careful with the civilian population, as you know, but I said, you better make a deal. You're not going to have anything left.
And you think they will?
They should. I don't know if they will or not.
Sir, thank you for speaking with Fox News.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
President Trump also spoke about the investigation into the Manab school strike, his relationship with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and broader topics, including the war in Ukraine. We will have updates throughout the day tomorrow on Fox News. Brett.
We'll run some more sound bites later with the panel. Trey, nice job at the White House. Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
We're back with a Fox News alert. ICE is making a major change to how it enforces immigration law. The agency is halting most vehicle stops nationwide, limiting them to operations targeting its highest because vehicle stops have been one of ICE's primary tools for arresting its targets. The change comes after a shooting during an ICE operation in Biddeford, Maine yesterday. Authorities say a 26-year-old Colombian man was shot and that he was not the target of the warrant being served. The shooting has sparked anti-ICE protests in Maine, including one demonstration outside of Senator Susan Collins' office. Watch. And with Graham Platter dropping out of the Maine Senate race, the Democrats are looking to replace him are carrying his anti-ICE messaging.
We need a senator right now with the courage to stand up to this administration and demand accountability of this agency.
I think are at the point where ICE needs to be abolished.
This must stop. We need to get ICE out of the streets.
Joining us now, Border Czar Tom Homan. Tom, thank you for joining us. I want to start with you laying out specifically what is this policy change? I tried to sum it up there in the intro. Not sure if I got it exactly correct. You tell me, sir, what is the change and why are you doing it?
Well, that decision was made by the secretary along with leadership at ICE. But look, it's not a policy change. It's a temporary pause. Look, we had the last couple of shootings, ICE leadership along with DHS believes they want to look at these last couple of incidents and look, is there something that could have been done better? Is there any training that can be improved? Or it's simply ICE doing their job and bad things happen when people don't comply with law enforcement officers. So I think it's going to be a short pause. And I'm confident that ICE is well trained in vehicle stops, and you're going to see us keep moving forward. But this is just a temporary pause where they look at the incidents. But let me say this too: I hear a lot of noise right now. This is going to affect ICE arrests, and it's not going to. Look, I've done this for a long time. You can when that alien leaves his home before he gets into the car, you can arrest him then. You can wait till the vehicle gets to the destination and arrest him then. Every case is different. Now, we know vehicle assaults are up over 3,400%. So if we can arrest that alien outside that vehicle and take that 2-ton weapon away from them, that's good in some instances. Other instances, we're going to still need to do vehicle stops or a significant criminal. You may want to stop him in a desolate area before he gets downtown. You certainly don't want to stop a criminal alien near a school that in the middle of recess with 100 kids in the playground. Right. There are so many circumstances these agents need to look at to make these decisions. So I do not think this short pause can affect the arrest, because the alien can be arrested before or after that vehicle. But this is what I understand, talking to the director of ICE, it's a short pause just to make sure we're doing the right thing.
Well, let me challenge you a little bit, Tom, because in the more than 20 plus ICE ride-alongs that I have been fortunate to go along with and document and show our viewers a report on, the majority of them were done through traffic stops, because, so that our audience understands, when ICE agents go out to make a targeted arrest of a criminal illegal alien, largely in sanctuary cities, they have to make an at-large arrest because the local officials do not cooperate to do the preferred method, which is in the jailhouse or in the court where it's peacefully done without a threat to anybody. But when it's at large, your ICE agents for years have preferred the traffic stop. When they come out of the house, they get in the car, it's a very controlled environment, and you have a car down the street to block, and it's pretty smooth unless they do try and flee, putting everyone in danger. But that has been the majority of the arrests I've seen. It is among your top operational methods. And so that's why I ask you, how does this not lead to significant arrest decreases?
Look, but bottom line, that's not a challenge, Griff. I just said there are options in addition to stopping the vehicle. There's an option when he walks out of the house, make the arrest now while you identify him before he gets in the 2-ton vehicle. There are options, you wait till he gets to his destination, make arrest. I'm not saying this is a mainstay of what we do, vehicle stops. But the temporary pause is a decision made just to make sure everything's good. But there are other options that I think will keep those numbers driven up. Now, a lot of people are saying, I read, well, this is another example of ICE not doing mass deportations. Look, do you know last month, June, ICE had the highest numbers of arrests in the history of the agency.
Right.
Higher than any time last year. So operations continue, arrests are at record numbers, deportations at record numbers. This is simply a pause, a decision made by the Secretary and ICE, just to make sure that the officers remain safe and things are doing well. I think at the end of this review, which would be a short review, ICE will be right back to doing what they do.
I want to get your reaction to reporting, Tom, that this is born in some way out of insufficient training for new ICE recruits and agents. You've obviously hired thousands of new agents in the last several months, and perhaps this was being done because there's reporting out there that insufficient training may play a part, and possibly in the case in Biddeford, Maine. What say you?
Well, it's my understanding the officers involved in these shootings are well trained. They're not a part of that new hires. So I looked at the just before I did this interview, I asked ICE to give me the training curriculum for the academy, and there's an extensive vehicle stop training, much like the Border Patrol has. So again, we'll let this play out where it is, but I think ICE is going to continue doing record arrests, record removals, and this is, I wouldn't even call it bump in the road. I mean, this is going to be a short-term review. So ICE feels comfortable that their agents are safe, they're doing the right thing, and get back to doing what they do best, which is making vehicle stops. But like I said, I'll say it again. But there are options during this short time period to arrest a man before he gets in a moving weapon and arrest him after he stops. There are various stops. I've arrested aliens in all sort of conditions in my career, and every arrest is different. All the extenuating circumstances of that arrest are different. And the agents are well trained to make those decisions. I think they're making the right decisions.
Border Czar Tom Homan. Tom, my friend, thank you for coming on, taking some of the tough questions. We'll continue to follow it and see where it goes. Thank you, sir.
You got it.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
What's your name, young lady? Your name?
Huh?
Your name?
My name is Brenda.
And
Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. Tom Homan just... Obama used Tom Homan and there was no problem. But if Donald Trump uses the same person, then there's a problem. Make it make sense. Okay, where? Here. Here we go. Hang on, I got you guys. He's a scumbag, Alan? How so? Was he a scumbag when Obama used him? I'm just asking questions.
Reports of new U.S. strikes on Iran. We are just minutes, less than an hour away now from the restart of the United States blockade. You can see where the initial U.S. blockade line is on the map that you are looking at. So this is reforming as we speak. The purpose is to block the entrance of the Strait of Hormuz in order to block all in and out traffic from Iran, allowing all other traffic to pass through. President Trump says that the United States will be, quote, the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz. Correspondent Lucas Tomlinson reporting live from Tel Aviv tonight. Hi, Lucas.
U.S. jets have been launched tonight to strike Iran last week. In the 2 months, and like press back construction and
going in now, and they're doing partnerships with Iraq, and they're getting along very well. The relationship is a whole big relationship where we don't need the military.
Iraq's prime minister said all 2,500 U.S. troops in Iraq will leave by late September. Last night at sea, strike aircraft launched from the George H.W. Bush and the Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln has now been at sea. Martha F-35Bs also launched from the amphibious assault ship Boxer nearby. Tomahawk cruise missiles also fired from destroyers in the strike groups, despite the against neighboring Gulf states, including Kuwait and Bahrain earlier today, where U.S. troops are housed. This is the aftermath of an Emirati tanker hit by an Iranian cruise missile last night, killing one crew member and wounding 8 others. Other tankers were hit as well, and tanker traffic has slowed in the Strait of Hormuz. There have not been any attacks by Iran against Israel. This warning to Iran earlier today.
Do not count on it being quiet if you attack us. Do not count on a rerun. This will be a different event, much more powerful.
So the U.S. naval blockade begins in less than an hour, Martha. Once it's fully enforced, it will block Iran from over $400 million a day. And once again, U.S. Navy and Air Force jets are bombing Iran again tonight. Martha?
6 rounds, as you say, Lucas, over the past week. It's a lot of kinetic action, and we'll see where it goes. Lucas Tomlinson, thank you very much. All right, we were just discussing the escalation in the Strait of Hormuz, and now we just got this from CENTCOM just moments ago. U.S. Central Command forces began launching an additional round. This is night 4 of strikes against Iran to continue degrading Iranian capabilities used to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. As General Jack Keane spoke to us about just a short time ago, this is a targeted operation to degrade their ability to impact shipping within the Strait. We've seen them strike ships. We saw one person killed yesterday, 8 injured against a commercial vessel that was in the Strait by Iran. So that is what the effort is underway here. Day 4 from CENTCOM. A lot going on with the United States and Iran. President Trump reversing his plan a bit on the idea of a 20% toll on ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for providing, quote, safety and security. He says he wants to be the guardian of free transit in the Strait. And here he explains where he is today.
Different people, different countries, kings and emirs, and they said, we'd love to do it a different way. We'd love to invest in the United States with billions and billions of dollars. We would like to invest tremendously in the United States as opposed to charging a fee. And I like that, actually, because I don't think anybody should be able to charge a fee for the Strait.
Okay. With that, we bring in Brit Hume, Fox News chief political analyst. Brit, it's great to have you with us, as always. And I do want to get your thoughts on what the president said there. But first, I would like to ask you a little bit about Senator Lindsey Graham and what we just witnessed, the swearing in of Darlene Graham, his sister. And one of the issues that she's going to be dealing with is this Russia sanctions bill. And here's President Trump on that. And then want to get your thoughts on the swearing in after we hear this.
Well, I know that Lindsey wanted it very badly. I think they may be adding Iran to it. They're going to add Iran, which is a very big thing if they did that. They may add Hezbollah too. Just put them if you do business with Hezbollah. So we're looking at that, but they're seriously thinking, and this is in honor of Lindsey. This was his thing. He wanted this more than any other thing.
Thoughts on all that, Brett?
Well, I think there's some momentum behind the bill, and that Lindsey Graham's death may well have added to that. The bill has some bipartisan support. You could see that in the group of senators that was arrayed in the event they had to honor Lindsey Graham. Senators of both parties there gathered. So that's a sign for it. I think you have to be careful with a bill like this, that you don't load it up with so much extra stuff that you build opposition to it, which happens sometimes. Sometimes you add things and it helps, and sometimes you add things and it doesn't. So, but it's something to keep an eye on, and it may well, certainly it adds momentum in the Republican caucus in the Senate, and one imagines perhaps on the Democratic side as well.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a scene we just saw moments ago that none of us expected to be witnessing this week, and that's Senator Graham's sister stepping into his role in the United States Senate, Brett.
Well, that's right, and it's nice to see senators behaving themselves in the way that senators used to do more often in the old days before we entered this particularly contentious era. But you know, I wouldn't get too carried away with the effect of that and her potential influence, because in the end, these senators are going to vote the way they think it is in their interest to do so, and in keeping with what they believe about all this. And her presence in the chamber, I don't think is going to change a lot of minds.
You know, I want to ask you about this issue of the toll. I think, you know, when I heard President Trump say this yesterday, then we saw the Iranian leadership response saying, we'll only charge 15%. We want to be fair. It felt even at that point, just observing it, that this was not maybe something that was going to actually happen, that the United States wasn't going to be charging tolls to go through the Strait, but that it was sort of a bit of tit for tat that we saw play out, which sometimes happens. But President Trump's in a tricky spot here as he returns to the blockade, you know, returns to a lot of kinetic action in the Strait. Something he didn't want to do just a few weeks ago as he looks towards the midterms.
Well, Martha, when all is said and done here, when the case is being made for and against what he did here, the critics are going to cite the cost of it, which has been considerable. And I think, you know, obviously he'd love to get reimbursed for some of it. And now that we're now going to mount the blockade again, and we're carrying out major military operations, maybe not the most major, but certainly more than we were doing. And that's going to add to the cost as well. And that will be part of the case against it. The cost of lives has been, militarily speaking at least, extraordinarily minor. Everyone is regrettable, of course, every casualty. But the cost in dollars at a time when the national debt is exploding, or has been, is serious. And if he gets a good outcome here, people may well say it's worth it. If it's less than conclusive, however, people will look at the cost and say, was it worth it? That's something that's obviously on his mind.
Yeah, 100%. Brett, thank you very much. We'll see you soon, Brett.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Brett Hume.
Will this trend hold now that strikes on Iran?
I think so. I think it's going to, inflation's down. We inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years. It was the worst in the history of our country from Biden, Sleepy Joe. He might have been sleepy, but boy, he could create inflation like nobody. And I inherited that, and I got blamed for it. And it's not my fault. We are putting it to sleep. And we've done a great job, Scott and Howard and Marco and even Pete, because he's watching his dollars, right? But they've done a fantastic job. We've all done a fantastic job. So we had the worst inflation in history and the history of our country. I mean, we had months where it was 9 and 10%. And now we have a report just came out. It was just released. Thank you for bringing it up. But the report was incredible. Inflation is way down. That means prices are coming way down, and we're doing a great job. Remember that for the midterms. I say to that camera, remember that, because nobody else could do it. Prices are way down. Prices are coming way down, and we're going to bring them much lower yet.
Traffic in and out of the strait. With that, we bring in retired 4-star General Jack Keane, former Army Vice Chief of Staff, now chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, and Fox News' senior strategic analyst. General Keane, it's great to have you with us today, sir. I'd like to start by just playing this exchange with President Trump earlier today, asking about whether or not he regretted lifting the blockade in the first place. Watch this.
Do you have any regrets about lifting the naval blockade or giving the sanctions waivers?
No, I gave them a chance. I wanted to give them a chance at making a deal. You know, we had a deal 2 days ago. It was done. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't do it. They didn't like something about the deal. They couldn't do it. And they shot first. And that was a big mistake that they shot first, because we have been knocking the hell out of them.
General Keane, your reaction to that and where we stand today as the blockade goes back into action?
Well, it's not a surprising comment. I mean, the president has given these people enormous amount of leeway here to come forward and really make a deal. And he actually signed a document, you know, on the 17th, not too long ago, that was supposed to provide testimony to a deal that they had achieved. And the Iranians, you know, kind of blew a hole in all of that, because a couple of days later, they went out and violated the only agreement that was in the deal. The memorandum of understanding was an agreement to open up the Straits of Hormuz. We would remove the blockade, Iran would remove their control and interference. That was the only thing that's really a deal. The rest of it was all a promise to solve the greater problems over a 60-day or possibly even a longer period. And within a couple of days, we saw their violation of it. I think the president just threw up his arms and he's fed up with it. He's fed up with the lion. He's fed up with, you know, being played by these people. I mean, they look urbane, sophisticated, kind of dressed like us. They seem to be reasonable. They seem to appear that they truly want to do something here that's meaningful for their own people. But I think their actions reflect the 47-year history. That's the facts of it. Regardless of who's in charge right now, they are committing to the same ideology that their predecessors have done. And that's where the president is. And that is why we're watching right now the battle of the Straits of Hormuz unfold before our eyes. And it's got two major focuses to it. One is to take out all the things in the coastal area that permit them to interfere with shipping. So that obviously that's drones, it's missiles, it's fast boats, it's their radars and sensors, it's their command and control, and whatever logistic infrastructure keeps that going. You saw them just take down a plant recently within the last several hours, and that's an indicator that that plant obviously keeps a lot of that equipment sustained. The second focus area, and this is crucial, is what is Iran doing about our attacking them? Well, one, they're trying to continue to interfere, but two, as you noted, Martha, they're attacking our allies and partners in the region and U.S. bases. And how are they doing that?
ballistic missiles and drones. So the second focus area is to take down as much of that retaliation as we possibly can. So we're going after the launch systems for the ballistic missiles, the missiles themselves, and their transporters. We're likely rubbling the entrances to the tunnels where they keep these, which we have done before. They excavated and took some out, and that keeps and contains those missiles in there. They can't get it out without a major engineering operation, and obviously we can interfere with that. Same thing with drone storage areas. So those are the two focus points. It's going to take some time. This is a condition-based operation. Cooper has been given Admiral Cooper the leeway to conduct this operation, and he'll know when he has satisfied the objectives in terms of reducing their capability to interfere and significantly reducing capability to retaliate. Probably about a week, but that I don't know for sure because it's a condition-based operation. And obviously he'll report to the Secretary of War and to the President on how he's doing.
You just touched on exactly what I was going to ask you about next, General, and that is that I know you were frustrated by the imposition of the ceasefire in the first place, wanted to finish the targets that were still on the target list that Admiral Cooper had to sort of continue to degrade their ability to fight in the Strait and to operate in the Strait. So you're saying another week? I remember at one point you said it would probably take 2 weeks to finish that target list. Give us an update on that, if you would.
Well, we're talking two different things here.
Okay.
This is a battle for the Straits of Hormuz and the limitations of what that is. We had 2 weeks to complete Epic Fury, and that deals with the whole comprehensive targets that we were dealing with. Leadership targets, IRGC organizations, industrial base, manufacturing capability, and the list goes on. We're not dealing with all of that here. We're dealing with a limited operation with the two focus points that I just provided you. That is another decision the president will make. He has the option to go back to major combat operations to complete the comprehensive target list. And we estimated at the time there was about 25% of the targets left that would take maybe 10 to 2 weeks. Now, obviously, some of those targets are being reduced here as a result of the focus on the Straits of Hormuz, to be sure. But there's a lot of other targets out there that are not involved in this battle that we're fighting.
All right, General Keane, lots more to talk about. So I hope you'll join us again. Thank you very much, General. Good to have you with us.
Yeah, great talking.
So first of all, a reaction to what KT McFarland just said about the lessening of importance of the Strait of Hormuz.
I think absolutely right. And that's mainly because of President Trump's policies, right? Drill, baby, drill. You know, what we were able to find through this conflict, Harris, is that the United States is now the world's biggest producer. We're the swing producer. We've taken that away from countries in the Middle East like OPEC and Saudi Arabia, and we're the biggest game in town. Now you're talking about Iraq, for example, meeting with the president. This is huge because Iraq is now the second biggest producer in OPEC after the United Arab Emirates left, right? And they have threatened to even leave OPEC. So the energy world has changed. And guess what? We're the guardian of the energy galaxy now, not just the Strait of Hormuz with President Trump's policies. And that's going to keep prices stable over the long run.
President Trump right now meeting with the Iraqi prime minister over lunch after speaking to the press in the Oval Office. It comes as the clock ticks under 3 hours until the U.S. naval blockade resumes against Iranian ports and ships. Well, I'm John Roberts in Washington. We're back to where we were a couple of months ago, Sandra.
Feels like it. A lot going on. We're monitoring all of it. I'm Sandra Smith in New York. This is America Reports. So the president's meeting with Iran's neighbor comes as he seeks to further isolate Iran from the rest of the Middle East.
President Trump is continuing to order strikes across Iran in response to the regime's repeated attacks against commercial vessels passing through the Strait of Hormuz.
Our senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich was in the room during that meeting. It happened just a short time ago, and she is with us now from the White House North Lawn. Hello, Jackie.
Hey, Sandra. Just now in the Oval Office, the president explained why he scrapped plans for the U.S. to charge a 20% fee to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. He said he doesn't fully agree with the concept of any country charging a fee for freedom of navigation, but he said the U.S. does need to be reimbursed for its efforts that the globe is benefiting from. And he said after speaking with the leaders of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain, they proposed an alternative. He posted, quote, based on highly productive conversations with Middle East leadership, I've decided to replace the 20% United States reimbursement fee with trade and investment deals that the various Gulf states will be making into the United States. Those investments will be massive, but at the same time, extraordinarily good for them and their future. Now, at 4 o'clock today, this U.S. naval blockade will go back into place. But just yesterday, according to S&P Global Mint, a number of Iran-linked ships transited the strait, including 5 container ships, 3 bulk carriers, 2 product tankers, 2 cargo ships, 1 LPG tanker, and 4 other miscellaneous support craft. They say that only 2 of the ships were assessed as compliant. And since the MOU was signed in mid-June, an estimated 82.5 million barrels of Iranian crude have gotten through the strait. But President Trump just told me he does not regret giving Iran this opening.
Do you have any regrets about lifting the naval blockade or giving the sanctions waivers?
No, I gave them a chance. I wanted to give them a chance at making a deal. You know, we had a deal 2 days ago. It was done. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't do it. They didn't like something about the deal. They couldn't do it. And they shot first. And that was a big mistake that they shot first because we have been knocking the hell out of them.
So right now, the president is in a private lunch with the new Iraqi prime minister, talking about plans to disarm Iran-linked militia groups in that country, among other things, in order to stay on course for U.S. forces to withdraw from the region by September 30th. Sandra.
Got it. Jackie Heinrich live at the White House for us. Thank you. John?
All right, Sandra, let's bring in Texas Republican Congressman Michael McCaul, Chairman Emeritus of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the Homeland Security Committee. Congressman, it's good to talk to you. It's been a while since you and I got together.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Wanted to ask you about this because the president has ordered the resumption of the blockade beginning at 4 o'clock today. That's going to again put pressure on the Iranian regime to come to the table. But there are so many people who say unless and until we degrade their military capability to zero or as close to zero as we can get, they're never going to play ball. What do you think?
Well, I tend to agree with your assessment. I think the president was correct in giving negotiations a chance before an all-out war. But to your point, frankly, I don't trust this regime. I've never been sanguine about the negotiations being successful. I think what needs to be done in addition to the blockade, which we were successful last time with it, we should do it again. But we need to take out, just like I just got back from Ukraine, they have the same problem with Russia, is to take out the launch pads from which they are launching these Shahed drones that are targeting oil tankers in the Straits of Hormuz. That is where we could be most effective. We can disarm them so they cannot conduct any more foul play in the Straits. We can effectively open it and move forward. I also like the idea of replacing the 20% toll or fee that Iran was doing with a better idea, and that is the Gulf states helping to finance this effort rather than the American taxpayer.
Yeah, and President Trump talked about that, actually investing in America. We'll get to that in just a second. But as you know, CENTCOM has been hitting Iran nightly, and not just in the area of Bandar Abbas and around Strait of Hormuz, but further inland as well, some pretty significant IRGC facilities. But unless there's regime change, is anything going to change? This is your colleague, Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, what he said about regime change.
It's not ever going to end until we get down to, we get a regime change down to somebody that we can do business with. And they're going to have to get away from the religious leaders, I think, and get a military leader to run the country.
So in terms of regime change, the president said, well, we've had regime change because there are different people who are in charge now, but it's really, I mean, it's just kind of another iteration of the same old thing. Should we turn back to Israel, do you think, in terms of this idea of refreshing the leadership? Because they're pretty good at doing that.
Yeah, I do think that was the original goal of this whole operation. Netanyahu sold it that way. They hit the bunker with the Ayatollah and his top leadership. We thought we would take out the regime and have regime change. It didn't happen, is the bottom line. And the IRGC, you know, is basically the Revolutionary Guard arm of regime in Iran, and they are very fully intact. And to put this in perspective, the Ayatollah, when he took over from the Shah, infiltrated what was the equivalent of the IRGC and allowed him to take power. I think as long as we're dealing with a continuity of governance, if you will, of the Ayatollah's regime, we're going to continue to have this problem. So I actually agree with my colleague, Mr. Burchett. We don't always agree on everything, but I think he's right about this one because we're going to constantly have them negotiating in bad faith and not wanting to resolve this conflict. And so I think Israel, to your point, has a Mossad. They are fully embedded in Israel. I quite frankly have done more towards this effort of regime change.
Yeah, well, I think they have it because President Trump has sort of been waving them away from that. But who knows? Maybe it's time to renew that program. So let me come back to this idea that the president was floating. He said 20% fee on ships to help pay for U.S. security. The president's rationale is if we don't even use oil that comes out of the Persian Gulf to any great degree, maybe 1 or 2% of our national oil supply. So why should the U.S. foot the bill for all the other ships that have to transit through it? He has since changed that. But I thought it was interesting that what the president said prompted this response from Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran, who said, POTUS is absolutely right. Whoever provides secure and safe passage of commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz should be compensated for this service. Iran has always been the guardian of the Strait and will remain so forever. 20% is, of course, too much. We will be fair. So, first of all, since when has Iran ever been, quote, the guardian of the Strait? And then secondly, these guys are like the mafia. They're trying to extort people for protection money.
No, that's exactly right. This is a battle for the Straits of Hormuz. I agree with you. I don't like validating this idea of a 20% toll on ships going through. So if it doesn't make it right if we do it, and we thought it was wrong when they did it. So I do like this a better approach, if you will, of the people that basically receive the energy, that profit off the energy in the Middle East, also in Europe. Let's not forget Europe. 50% of their energy comes out of the Straits of Hormuz as well. I think they should be contributing to the price of this. But I like the new strategy, the new tactic. Certainly the Gulf nations don't have our military, but they have the financing and the wherewithal to make this happen.
All right, well, we'll see if it does happen. The president also said he's going to go after Pickaxe Mountain, which I know is going to be of interest to our next guest. Chairman McCall, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
So President Trump ordering strikes on Iranian military targets for a third straight night yesterday as the United States prepares to hold a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Mike Tillman is live in Israel with the details. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Lawrence. And we're a little less than 10 hours now from the blockade officially going into effect. And with that, we've seen a flurry of activity of Iranian strikes on commercial shipping crossing the strait. The United Arab Emirates reported that 2 ships were hit overnight. And just a few hours ago, the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Association reported that another ship was hit just off the coast of Lima, Oman. This was a ship following the southern route through the strait established by Oman in defiance of the Iranian route to the north. Yesterday, a Cyprus flag container ship was hit. That flurry of activity coming after the president announced the U.S. will impose a blockade, take control of this strait, and charge 20% of all cargo as reimbursement for providing security.
We're putting the blockade back, and it's a blockade not for anybody but Iran. In other words, anybody doing business with Iran can't go through. Everyone else will be able to go through. So it's a blockade. It's a very strong blockade. The blockade was probably more effective even than hitting them, but I think the combination is the thing that really does it.
Strikes on the cargo ships triggered new U.S. airstrikes. In the latest round, U.S. war machinery struck Bashir, a coastal town home to the massive nuclear power facility, Konarak, home to a naval base and an airfield, Chabahar, home to a port, Abu Musa, and Bandar Abbas. Bandar Abbas has taken a number of hits. In fact, that is where CENTCOM reported the U.S.-based sea attack drones were used for the first time to strike an enemy. CENTCOM says the drones hit a ship repair facility and a submarine. The U.S. says they've been hitting coastal defense systems, maritime capabilities of Iran, as well as missile and drone sites. Lawrence, back to you.
All right, Mike, thanks so much. Now, oil shipping and the global economy all hanging in the balance. Fox Business contributor Lou Bassanese joins us now. Lou, do you see this happening when it comes to the tolls? Americans are concerned that this may affect them at the pump as a result
absolutely.
Of this.
Look, I think this is the tariff logic applied to Iran. So it's escalate to negotiate. I don't think we'll ever see this 20% cargo fee go into effect because it's really big. I mean, if you just for comparison, at $80 a barrel oil, the average large vessel carries 2 million barrels. So that's about 160 million. That's $32 million fee for that. And the Iranians were talking maybe a $2 million fee per trip. So the president knows and the tariff war, right? Let's raise it to 100%. No, let's make it 200%. And then it brings everyone to the table. So it's a negotiating sledgehammer. And for the everyday Americans, I think the important thing is we haven't seen oil spike back to over $100 a barrel. So
why is that?
Just because I think everyone knows this is the tactic is to escalate to get them to the table. Longer term, this trend, we're seeing that we've restored shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. And I don't think it's the president's plan to turn the strait into the New Jersey Turnpike and charge a permanent toll. It's to restore order there and keep it from being a forever hostage lane like it has been for the last 40 plus years.
So here's the president talking about the reimbursements. Let's play it.
We're going to be reimbursed because the other nations are very wealthy. They're on our side. And we can't be expected to do that for nothing, unlike we had for many years. You know, we guarded the strait for 50 years more, and we never got paid for it. They made all the money, and the United States was just, they wouldn't. It's amazing. We never made, we guarded it for nothing. And now we're going to guard it, and we're going to get paid for guarding it.
So since this is impacting the global market, shouldn't the rest of the world be helping us out?
I would agree with the president on this point because the U.S. only relies on crude of about 2% of our crude supplies coming through the strait. We're energy independent, so we're really doing the safety and security provision for the rest of the world. So I think there will be some premium that gets paid, a tax, a toll. It's not going to be the 20% that the president suggests, but he's right. He said it to Reuters that we have to get paid for safety and security in the strait, and we shouldn't just let the Iranians dictate that.
Yeah, they could avoid all of this by just helping us with the security. Then I'm sure the president wouldn't mind by saying, you know what? You're helping us with the military action. Right. I don't need the toll.
Well, but the president was very consistent in his administration. Remember, he went to NATO and says, you guys aren't spending enough on defense. It's time to pony up. And so I think he's doing the same logic and saying, America first. We're not going to foot the bill for the rest of the world.
All part of the negotiation. Lou, thanks so much.
Pleasure to be here.
5:12 on this Tuesday morning. Welcome back. The U.S. military launching strikes on Iran for a third consecutive night, with President Trump commenting on the future of the Strait of Hormuz.
I think in the end, we will end up just controlling the whole thing. And what they're doing is being very foolish, very stupid, and they've treated people horribly. They've killed 52,000 protesters so far that we can determine. It might be more than that, but 52,000 protesters have been killed. And it's really a terrible situation. But we'll have it under control very quickly.
And the commander-in-chief also announcing a charge for ships passing through the strait, writing on Truth Social, quote, the USA will be from this point forward known as the guardian of the Hormuz Strait. But as such, and as a matter of fairness, will be reimbursed at a rate of 20% on all cargo shipped for any cost necessary to do the job of providing safety and security to this very volatile section of the world. The process and formation will begin immediately. Former Deputy National Security Advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney, Steve Yates, joins me right now. Steve, thank you for joining the program. So this renewed blockade will begin at 4 o'clock today. We have seen, as the intensity has increased, some of the traffic is slowing in the strait. Is this promise of American security enough to get shipments flowing?
It's a key part of it. And I think a lot of Americans would see as fundamental fairness that with the United States expending a great deal of resources in order to provide freedom of navigation, it makes perfect sense that we might turn to those who are depending upon us to get their product to market and the big economies that rely on these products getting to them. I think that's really looking at Europe and Asia as a way to maybe balance the expenditure for the United States in doing this. And of course, it's important to emphasize, this is blockading things coming and going to Iran. Everything else will have free passage, and the United States isn't stopping or shooting any vessels that have to do with that part of the transit. It's really Iran that is the threat and destabilizer. And so that part of it, I think, is broadly common sense to a lot of observers.
Yeah, Iran also wants to impose its own toll system, even trying to get Oman to get on board with sort of a joint tolling system. The foreign minister of Iran posted on X, take a look at this, quote, POTUS, President of the United States, is absolutely right. Whoever provides secure and safe passage of commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz should be compensated for this service. Iran has always been the guardian of the strait and will remain so forever. 20% is, of course, too much. We will be fair. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said last month that no country can impose a fee for use of an international waterway. But as you mentioned, this is at least sold as a reimbursement for money that the U.S. is spending. Is this different than what Secretary of State Rubio said?
Well, whether it ends up being a toll or a fee charge to commercial vessels, et cetera, is kind of unclear at this point. It makes a little bit more sense to me that in the course of our broader economic strategic negotiations we have with key allies and partners who do and rely upon the United States, especially those who during the parts of this conflict either got in the way of what the United States needed to do or just really have failed to show up. I mean, the leader of France famously suggested that however many boats there are in France, there would be at least some presence that would, he stood up in front of an international audience and said that France would uphold the freedom of navigation. And so at this point in time, where are they? And if they're not there, it's really the Iranians that are presenting a threat. It's a little bit of the chutzpah award for them to fire on other vessels and then say they're going to charge a fee, when it's really the United States that if we had compliance with a very generous deal that had been offered, there would be no need for any of this at this point. I think also this is really inviting the allies in the region who have a stake in getting their product out to market to share somewhat of the burden in making sure we pin in the true disruptor to the free flow of goods and peace and stability. And that, I think, is a part of the good strategy the president has implemented on this.
Again, that renewed blockade begins at 4 o'clock today. The price of oil at the highest point we've seen in the past 4 weeks. Steve Yates, thank you very much for joining the program this morning.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my
Hey, you guys. Are y'all okay? What a rough chat tonight. What's wrong with you guys? Okay. I'm not really in the chat like that, you guys. I hope y'all are all right. Where are we going? Let's go here. I hope that you guys are okay in the chat. And we're still friends. All right.
Because Senator Grassley's on the floor now talking about Senator Graham as we anticipate the swearing in of his sister, Darlene Graham, to fill the remainder of his term in just a few minutes. Let's go to the Senate floor here.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter, so help you God.
I do.
Sorry, guys. I had to speak.
All right, and there is one for the history books as Darlene Graham, the sister of Senator Lindsey Graham, takes the seat that he has occupied. Senator Tim Scott standing beside her there, who is the junior senator from South Carolina, the seat that he has occupied for 23 years. Senator, he first took that seat back in 2003, and now she will finish out the remainder of his term. Quite a historic event.
We had Trey Gowdy, the former congressman from South Carolina, on the program yesterday, reflecting on Lindsey Graham's life. And he said he believes that Graham would be smiling down from heaven to see this happen, have his sister take his seat there.
Yeah, because the backstory is so incredible that the family lived in a single room behind that billiard bar liquor store. After both of his parents died, Darlene was 13 at the time. Lindsey Graham was afraid that she would not be able to have access to his military benefits at some point in her life. So he actually adopted her. So not only is he his sister, but adopted as well. I mean, it really is just a remarkable story, everything about this.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full show.
Let me hold that spot for a second. Hang on, guys. I'm looking for. Oh, here it is. I'm looking at my video, looking for my video on the Fed's thoughts on inflation. I don't know if you guys heard about this already. So here you go. I got you.
Turning now to the latest in the economy. We have this coming from the New York Post. Inflation cools to 3.5%, the biggest drop since 2020 on falling energy prices. For the first time in 6 years, consumer prices declined in June. Fox's Mike Emanuel has the latest on the government's latest economic report and what this tells us about inflation.
Stocks opened higher Tuesday on the heels of the latest consumer price index showing U.S. inflation eased to 3.5% year over year, the lowest annual rate since April 2020.
Clearly, the economy is doing fine, right? The big banks will tell you the credit is fine.
It's absolutely the best inflation report we've seen in about 6 years.
On Capitol Hill, Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh, speaking in his first congressional testimony, offered no signal to the central bank's next steps, but said that while short-term price swings are still inevitable, long-term inflation and inflation surge will become a thing of the past.
The members of our committee have no tolerance for persistently elevated inflation, and we share a resolute commitment to ensure price stability.
However, economists say last month's drop came from falling energy prices that have since reversed themselves as the U.S. and Iran resume attacks. This as Democrats for months have cast blame on the Trump administration's foreign and economic policies for elevated inflation and rising prices.
It's all because of Trump's tariffs, his war with Iran, his failed economic agenda.
Still, Republicans are celebrating the latest economic numbers, including gas prices falling nearly 10% over the past month.
Take the numbers and take a deep look at them. The average American feels better today than they did in the challenging years of the Biden administration.
The Fed's next opportunity to hike interest rates comes at its upcoming meeting later this month. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Our thanks to Mike Emanuel for that reporting there. And just taking a live look out over Capitol Hill right now, where we did hear from Kevin Warsh earlier today as he made his first appearance before the House Financial Services Committee today. He has no tolerance for persistently elevated inflation, and he pledged to make the inflation surge that we've been experiencing a thing of the past. And as we heard Mike Emanuel saying, he did stop short of signaling where interest rates are headed next. A lot to unpack from today's hearing. So I want to bring into the conversation Peter Earle with the American Institute for Economic Research. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So that's a pretty big claim to say that inflation is going to be a thing of the past. Do you think that's feasible?
I don't think it's realistic. I mean, certainly the Fed has been able at times in the past to keep inflation near the 2% target. But I mean, there's so many factors that impact the price level, whether it's productivity or sometimes, the Fed or the Treasury undertake programs that wind up creating a lot of money, and we have lots of money chasing, comparably less amount of goods or slower growing goods. So there's a lot of things that can happen there. I mean, I like that he's made clear that they're going to be vigilant about it, because the Fed has been accused in the past of having a lot of different objectives at the same time, some of which could be viewed as mutually offsetting. But he's trying to I guess, rise to the label he's been given as the new sheriff in town.
So we have this post coming from Bloomberg. Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh said policymakers at the central bank have no tolerance for high inflation, reiterating a vow to tame price growth that has been elevated for 5 years now. How different is that message from what Americans heard under previous Fed leadership?
Well, I mean, I think that the one thing that's happening right now is that Warsh is making clear that inflation is his target, where other heads of the Fed, most noteworthy of which I would say his predecessor Powell, Powell said that the Fed is watching a number of things. And actually, the Fed does have two mandates. One is the price level. The other is employment, to maintain rates to as full employment as possible. So I think what Warsh is saying is that we haven't yet moved into a single mandate Fed, but he's clearly taking the position that inflation is still public enemy number one. And also, I think I wouldn't put words in his mouth, but I think what's implied here is that if you handle inflation, some of the other things that the Fed has been focusing on, like employment and financial stability and all that sort of thing, those will follow. So I think, his clearest message was that the Fed has no tolerance for it. And, I think he's fully committed to returning inflation to the 2% objective.
And he offered no hint about the Fed's next interest rate move. Do you think there's a thought process behind leaving the markets guessing here?
Definitely. I mean, one of the things that he has said is that he wants to use less forward guidance, and that he may eliminate the dot plot. And those were both tools that the Fed used to signal where they thought the policy might be going. I think he wants to keep the ability to surprise the markets when he needs to, but also to maintain flexibility. The more they commit to a future path, the more if they deviated from it, they surprise the market. And I think he wants the ability to eliminate what we call, in a very wonky sense, time inconsistency problems. But more importantly, he wants to maintain flexibility so he can focus more relentlessly on price stability and allow markets to discover policy from data rather than from Fed signaling, which has been the habit in the past.
We saw inflation, of course, cool in this latest report, but Warsh mentioned not declaring victory after just 1 month of seeing some encouraging data. So what indicators should Americans really be watching for over the next month?
Well, I mean, I would always be watching both CPI, but also PCE, the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index, because that's what the Fed actually uses. But other things are, I mean, I would say, look at, Americans see them anywhere, but, look at the prices at the pump, look at your grocery bill at the end of every month or every week. All of those things are going to factor in. And I think the average citizen gets a better idea of where inflation is than all of these, high-powered and complicated indices that come out of these bureaucracies in D.C.
The Fed seems to be a little bit divided on where interest rates could go next. How hard do you think it is going to be for Warsh to build consensus inside the Fed?
So I wonder if it's going to be harder for him to build consensus on where rates should go or the changes he's making to the Fed. Right now, the markets are pricing about an 85% probability of no change in the Fed funds rate in July, something like a 50-50 in September. This is all going to depend on what happens in oil and gasoline markets. I suspect that over time, we'll have more consensus as things get more clear. We tend to have a more divided, FOMC committee when the news is, when we have sort of mixed signals. But I think that as oil and gas markets get clearer, I think there'll be more. The forward path will be clear, and the consensus of the Fed will be clearer.
Warsh mentioned price stability. What does that even look like in today's world?
Well, we hope it looks like prices rising at 2% or less. That's the Fed's definition. And, it also means that when we have more price stability, what it does is it allows business people and households to plan more. And that's the big thing. If when we had inflation at 9.1% headline a few years ago, I think it was June of 2022, if you had plans of expanding your business, if you had plans of, taking a vacation, whatever, you might have rethought those on the basis of policy. So whatever that number is, hopefully it's 2%. I would like 0%, but I'm not in that role. Whatever it is, when we see people begin to take more plans and undertake more, I think we'll know that we have actual price stability rather than numerical price stability or defined price stability.
And just looking ahead to the Fed's next meeting, what economic data do you think could dramatically change their conversation around interest rates between now and then?
Oil price, non-farm payrolls, employment, and then also I would suppose something like where any differences between the CPI and the PCE that are I would say. I would call them, either esoteric or any real big differences between the inflation indicators that suggest that they might be missing something. Those are the three things I think they'll be looking at, and those could affect their prognostication most of all.
And, just looking ahead 6 months from now, what are some key things that you'll be watching for to see if Kevin Warsh's strategy is working?
Well, I mean, the best one, of course, is where inflation is at. And, that's impacted by a lot of factors. But, if the Fed convinces markets and convinces the American public that they are serious about keeping prices stable, what happens is they tamp down on expectations getting nested in prices and getting these sort of wage price spirals and some of these other factors that drive prices up. So I think the most important thing will be if the Fed convinces people that they're sincere in their mission, that will go a long way towards abbreviating the sort of psychological factors that would drive prices up.
All right, Peter, thank you so much for your time here on Live Now from Fox. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Certainly. And if you were wondering what specifically Kevin Warsh had to say earlier today on inflation, we wanted to play that out for you here on Live Now from Fox. Take a listen.
Now, at the Fed, our number one objective is getting monetary policy right. That's our clear and constant aim, the star we steer by. And if we get policy right, and I can assure you we will, the inflation surge of the last 5 years will be a thing of the past. My colleagues and I recognize that high inflation has been an undue burden on American households and businesses. And while monthly price volatilities and variations are inevitable, especially in an unsettled world, underlying inflation over longer time horizons is determined largely by monetary policy. As the chairman said at the outset, inflation's a choice. The members of our committee have no tolerance for persistently elevated inflation, and we share a resolute commitment to ensure price stability.
All right, those were Fed Chair Kevin Warsh's exact statements that we wanted to play out for you here on Live Now from Fox.
Oh, hey guys, whew, this is a lot of work. What do you mean I'm doing nothing? I'm working hard up here. I have to go through so many clips to bring you guys news. Let me finish with some highlights, and don't be mad at me for the news, you guys. I need to cheer myself up a little bit. So let's do some highlights and see what's happening in the rest of the world. Okay. Thank you, Claude. Okay, let's see. All right. Do you guys like Laura Ingraham? She grew on me. She was not always my. Let me shut up. I'm putting this. You guys know.
Same old socialist song and dance. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, it's failed everywhere it's been tried, but that's not stopping them. The big DSA agenda rollout. Oh, it's in a few hours. And it's going to be where the activists who've built and accomplished zero try to convince you to ditch our entire economic system for slavery to the state under socialism.
We will use government to respond to rising prices and unaffordable groceries.
We must secure housing for all, dignified,
truly affordable housing for all.
What the mayor is doing here should be done all over this country. Universal child care, make it free.
Now, ironically, the effort's called Workers Deserve More. But I'm telling you, after going through this, there is literally nothing in this agenda for a person in America who actually wants to work. It will help the rich people. It'll help faux academics.
Thank you, Claude. I appreciate you. You know I don't ask you guys for anything. Thank you, Claude, so much for helping me reach my goal. It's okay. You guys, let's just relax and watch these highlights. Claude.
Academics who get wired into any type of socialist bureaucracy. And of course, socialism will help freeloaders who don't want to work. But let's say you live outside of Columbus. Maybe you have a few kids, perhaps a joint income of, I don't know, 100K, 125K, maybe even have a little business. Well, this socialist agenda will absolutely destroy your way of life. Okay, let's go through a few of it, a few of the agenda items. No more drug enforcement, okay? No war on drugs. It means drugs will flood your neighborhood. No more ICE or border enforcement, so your wages will be depressed by a never-ending flood of foreign workers. And a living wage? Not if businesses have an unlimited number of migrants to choose from. Oh, and also no more mandatory minimums for criminals or cash bail. Goodbye safety in suburbia. So that's great for criminals. It's terrible for women and children, men too. But wait. They promise free college for all. Well, forget the how they're going to do that. We've already tried high school education for all that's free. Look at what happened there. With liberals mostly in control, classroom learning has been replaced with pass-through education. So if the left knew how to educate people, Baltimore, Chicago would have fabulous schools. Of course, both have lousy schools. And look, they do promise, you heard Mamdani there, housing for all. Well, that sounds great. Until you remember, government can't build much of anything. California's high-speed rail debacle, and let's not forget Biden's infrastructure bill, where they pushed $7.5 billion to build 500,000 charging ports by 2030. Well, at last count of those 500,000, only 384 had been built at a whopping 70 charging stations. Do the math there. Now, imagine what the government would do to housing if this is their track record. And as for their mandate to control rent control, all that means is that no one will be able to invest in fixing up their buildings or build new apartment buildings. Why? Because there's just not enough of an upside. It's called business. So that's another whammy on the working class. Then, as usual, the Medicare for all promises. So in that situation, doctors get paid less. The best don't even go into medicine. Even more foreign nurses and doctors, when they're imported, we're going to get to that issue later in the show. When that happens, healthcare ends up being rationed. The working people get hosed. As rich people, what do? Well, they just sign up for concierge care. Doesn't matter to them. And as for the DSA's pledge to greatly reduce military spending, well, what does that do? That just opens the door to China's eventual dominance in our hemisphere, just as Trump is beginning to push them out. And how would living under the CCP actually help our working people? Well, and that might be the reason that socialists want to do this. I'd love to live under the socialist rule of the CCP. And the other items in the socialist grab bag, we've already demolished. The 32-hour work week, oh, that sounds fun, but that would simply mean more businesses would go under. And of course, if these socialists really wanted to help the average working person, what would they do? Really wanted to help them. They would want to learn from the red states where the average working person is doing a lot better comparatively. Now, check out this recent list. 650 CEOs were polled, and they rated the best states in which to do business. The top 10, including Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, are Republican. They're run by Republicans, except Virginia, which is at number 10, and North Carolina, kind of a purple state, at number 5. So money and people, resources, are pouring into red states. So how do the socialists brush this off? Well, they do so either by ignoring it or distorting the data, or the little help from their friends. This CNBC report just comes out. They listed the 10 worst states to live in for 2026. All the states on this list, okay, Trump won. Every state except Georgia in 2020. And the list included 4 of the top 10 states for business. How does that make any sense? Well, they had kind of a weird calculus there, but this is obviously a blatant effort to dismiss and denigrate more conservative states, but it's really nothing new.
I won the places that are optimistic, diverse, dynamic, moving forward. His whole campaign, Make America Great Again, was looking backwards.
Trump and Zeldin and Molinaro just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong. You don't represent our values. You are not New Yorkers.
There are no longer blue states and red states. There are authoritarian states and democracy states.
Okay, Stacey, sorry about that, babe. The authoritarians, is that what you said? Those are your people who want to control what kind of car we drive and the settings even on our thermostats. The people who delivered Mamdani to New York City, they tried to push Plattner on Maine, but they want you to believe that objective facts don't matter. And that despite socialism's nightmarish results across the globe, that this time it's going to be different. So they're unveiling their official platform tonight online to radically dismantle our country from top to bottom. My message here to Republicans is this: you must seize this opportunity. Elected leaders also must remember that the average working class voters in Western Pennsylvania and Southwest Ohio, they don't really care that much about Iran. I'm not saying it's not important, but they're the people who gave the victory to Trump. They do care, though, about their take-home pay and the cost of living, the cost of gas. And for all of you, if you're apathetic about voting this November, think about how much worse your life will be, your family's life will be, if these DSA bozos ever took control. And that's the angle.
There's a civil war brewing, and unemployed Joy fired the first shot. Pow.
This whole vote blue, no matter who, you're treating us like employees. You're treating us like we are obligated to obey you. You want obedience, not passion. I'm a liberated Democrat. Because liberated Democrats are not obedient to the leadership's supposed to be obedient to the people, not the other way around. Y'all want obedience. You don't want our passion. You want our obedience. You want us to obey you. We should not obey. As voters, we have to stop being obedient and we have to start being powerful.
In a call to arms reminiscent of Santelli that sparked the Tea Party movement, the gates have been thrown wide open. Knives are out, and there will be blood.
I think we're all on the same page that we hate the Democratic Party.
I identify as a Democratic Socialist, but I'm running as a Democrat because the system creates this narrowness. So if you choose to register as a Democrat, you are not pledging allegiance to that party.
This is a hostile takeover. They're coming in, laying everyone off, burning it down, and selling parts for scrap. Meet the lead arsonist, Ashik Siddiq. As Trump would say, a great American name.
Do you like to abolish the Senate?
That's part of our platform, and we don't think that's extreme.
Let that sink in. Abolishing the Senate is their platform. And Democrat senators are endorsing them. And they ran on saving democracy. But nuking Congress is just the appetizer. The main course, the government runs your life.
The basic necessities of life should be run as public goods and not for private profits. And that is really resonating.
So the government's going to give us food, clothing, and shelter. I don't know about you, but I kind of like what I'm wearing. And I know this, my wife loves shopping. A government-run department store, free clothes, doesn't sound chic. We're all in government housing, going to government-run grocery stores. Oh, and your doctor, he's gone.
If you want to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, pass Medicare for all.
We get a Medicare for all if we fight for it.
It's about taking on a system rigged against working people.
We're winning because we're stand for Medicare for all.
Dr. Siegel's my doctor. I don't want to trade him for Dr. Fauci. I love Siegel. I can get an appointment like that. But that's all going to change when everybody in Latin America shows up to the waiting room.
Do you really believe in open borders and not having deportations?
that's just incredibly contrary to law enforcement and security.
America has a really long history of welcoming working class immigrants.
But we have criminal illegal aliens in the country. Don't they need to be removed?
We believe that demilitarizing the border, that violent oppression of working class immigrants who come here, is not something that most Americans want.
So you can break into the country, rape and kill us, and stay for free. That's what ancient civilizations used to call war. But borders are just a start. Next up, police. They don't want to just defund a few million here and there. They want to take the budget down to zero. No police, because the criminals, they're not who we think they are.
Why is it so difficult to understand that in the future we might need less policing in the future? We actually would like our justice system to handle a real cause of crime in the country. People in the billionaire class are getting away with terrible crimes against many Americans because they're profiteering on things like healthcare.
Even the Soviet Union had police. It was kind of a police state. I like police. The police caught Jeffrey Dahmer. Is that a bad thing? Maybe they just want us all dead. They haven't really thought through what comes after the revolution because it doesn't matter. All that matters is that they have all the power. And I mean all the power over everyone and everything. And they're telling us what they're going to do with it. They're going to, quote, eradicate Western civilization. The most successful civilization in the history of mankind. Well, we won't be able to say mankind. It'll be humankind.
Jose, that is absolutely amazing. Congratulations to you and keep going strong, my friend. That is so awesome.
Very civilization that created the rights and the freedoms and the opportunity that they're now using to destroy us and everything we built. You know, things like air conditioning, air travel, phones, cars, penicillin, classical music. Tim Apple is a billionaire. He created the phone that these communists are using to win elections. He's not a criminal. He's a genius. Abdul, who wants to be the first Muslim senator. You know, the guy running on free college, free healthcare, free housing. The guy who says he wants to choke us out. Well, he just banked close to $5 million last quarter. And guess who the Democrats sent in to stop him? Viewer warning.
I am going to be working on our behalf. I am going to be telling the stories on our behalf. And you better believe I'm going to be doing it with a little bit of joy, a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of energy, and a little bit of stick it to them. Because that's the Michigan way.
That's the best they've got. That's who the Democrats are sending in to stop the commies.
People all across the country and next week as well and around the world have taken time to honor the late Senator Lindsey Graham. Unfortunately, but sadly, predictably, at the core of the Democratic Party, there is no compassion. We've explained this over and over again, no soul. Now in its place is a group of hateful, selfish, obsessive, radical socialists who hate America and most of the people who live here. Let's give an example. Joy Reid using Senator Graham's death to trash the late senator, suggesting that he was burning in hell. As the headline on Mediaite put it, Joy Reid was dancing on his grave. Take a look.
Lindsey Graham was a knowing, willful, deliberate, heinous criminal. I personally will never forget his racist, sneering, barking dog racist interrogation of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. You sold your soul. You betrayed your friends, your legacy, your own soul. You sold your soul to the devil. And now you get to meet him in person.
So from her basement hate-filled podcast, Joy Reid perfectly now encapsulates the modern radicalized Democratic Party. These radicals, they hate you, they hate our country. They want America to burn. In fact, at the base, the Democratic Socialists want to upend or abolish private property, capitalism, law enforcement, America's borders, and 2 out of the 3 branches of the U.S. federal government. Take a look.
We just don't see the point of the Senate. Historically, it was meant to serve very wealthy people who owned a lot of land. And that's still a system that we have today. And it's something we would change.
So would you like to abolish the Senate?
That's part of our platform. And we don't think that's extreme. We think it's a change that would help make this country more democratic. The Supreme Court was mentioned as something that we would want more democratic oversight over. There's a kind of that comes from just the idea that very specially people who have a certain education or life experience should be making decisions for everybody, and that tends to be pretty elitist.
Now, they know that a socialist takeover would be impossible with checks and balances, which is why they want to control the courts. They want to get rid of the Senate. And keep in mind, this isn't just coming from a fringe group with no power, but you have dozens and dozens of elected Democrats now have called for packing our courts in order to control and ultimately eliminate the U.S. Supreme Court. And think about this. In the last administration, Joe Biden, well, whoever was making the decisions, dissolved our borders. And despite the disaster that followed, the Democratic Senate candidate from Texas, our friend James Six-Gender Tallarico, God is non-binary, now bashing the construction of a border wall. Take a look.
I'm worried about what this senseless border wall would do to our tourism here in the region, what it would do to our local economies, that we should be supporting and growing and cultivating, not attacking with political, useless border walls.
Useless to keep out, let's see, known terrorists, murderers, rapists, child molesters, other violent criminals, cartel members, gang members. That seems important to me. Now, Democrats are also against law. For example, in Michigan, socialist-backed Senate candidate Abdul Al-Sayed doesn't want police to have guns. He doesn't want to even fund the police. Take a look.
Do police really need to use guns? Do we need as much of a police force? And so if we ask ourselves about how we spend money in the public, where that money goes, where it comes from, we need to make a lot better decisions about investing in the things that root out poverty rather than investing in policing poverty.
Now, that Michigan Senate candidate also campaigned with Hassan Piker, the guy who said America deserved 9/11 and a lot of other bad things. But Al-Sayed is favored to win that Democratic primary. Now, of course, he's not exactly facing steep competition from his challenger, Haley Stevens. Take a look at this.
I am going to be working on our behalf. I am going to be telling the stories on our behalf. And you better believe I'm going to be doing it with a little bit of joy, a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of energy, and a little bit of stick it to them. Because that's the Michigan way. Right?
Gonna stick it to them. Anyway, Democrats in Michigan, do you want a far-left candidate who makes you cringe, or do you want a socialist who's plotting to get rid of the police, health insurance, and the entire country of Israel, hanging out with people who think that America deserved 9/11/01? Because those are the choices now inside the Democratic Party of Michigan. This is a political movement that has lost their way, lost their minds, and in a party full of cowards and radicals and extremists. And it's only going to get worse.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Did I give you guys this one already? I'm not sure.
First, we go to Madeline Rivera, who is live in Washington, D.C. with the very latest on the rising tensions in the Middle East. Hi, Maddie.
Good morning, Nate and Carly. This was the fourth straight night of strikes. CENTCOM saying U.S. fighter aircraft and drones and naval vessels launched precision munitions against Iranian missile and drone sites, naval capabilities, and coastal defense systems during the 7-hour wave to further degrade Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping and civilian crews. Iran, meantime, retaliated against U.S. bases in Jordan, Kuwait, and Bahrain. The strikes took place on the same day that the U.S. imposed the naval blockade of all Iranian ports. The president telling our Trey Yingst he's not afraid to dial up the pressure and the military campaign against Iran until it makes a deal.
Are you ruling out a ground campaign in a limited capacity?
I don't want to
Did you
say
guys see
that
this
either,
one?
but I would say no if I thought it was appropriate. I'd say sometimes you need a ground campaign, but we have other people that will do the ground campaign for us. But we already hit Cargill. And as far as taking it is concerned, if we degrade them far enough and deep enough back, I would do that. Next week, it gets really bad for them because next week comes the power plants. Next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate.
Axios reports shortly after Yink's interview, the president held a meeting in the Situation Room with his top national security team, including Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and War Secretary Pete Hegseth. Sources told the outlet the meeting focused on new plans for devastating strikes on strategic targets in Iran, in addition to the strikes against Iranian targets in the Strait of Hormuz. One of the sites that the president says the U.S. is monitoring is Pickaxe Mountain, a heavily fortified nuclear site. Experts say the facility is too deep for the United States bunker buster bombs to hit. The president says there is little activity at the site, but did not rule out striking the complex if they see something concerning. Nate and Carly.
Okay, Madeline Rivera live for us in Washington. Maddie, thank you.
Okay, let me.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all.
Okay, you guys. You guys didn't say anything, so I'm gonna assume I didn't show you guys that one already. Let me go to Mamdani real quick. It's not long at all. Promise. Here we go. Where are you guys from? You guys are up early today. Okay. There you go.
Right here, we have a homeless encampment.
Really?
There's beds right here. People are sleeping. We have umbrellas. This is what's happening in Mamdani's New York City. This is where someone lives. This is their clothes. They have an umbrella. Hand sanitizer, keeping clean, so that's good. And behind here, we have a suitcase. We have a pineapple. Take a look at this. We also have tequila. Whose bed is this?
I don't know. It's not mine.
Where do you sleep at night?
I'm trying not to sleep. Otherwise, I might accidentally be killed or something.
Do you know that you can't be sleeping here?
Yeah, I know.
So why are you doing it?
I'm not sleeping here.
Mayor Mamdani lets people just sleep in the streets.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
I saw a lot of people just sleeping down the block.
Because they're ass.
Here inside this homeless encampment, there is electricity. Do the homeless people keep clean? Well, here's their laundry. They open up the hydrants, fill up a bucket, and do their laundry. Are you willing to share what you guys do for a living?
I hold up TV reporters at gunpoint.
Did you ever feel like you want to better yourself, get a job, live in an apartment?
If I do, I feel like I would want to get a better job because I really do believe I'm employed.
Well, right now you don't have a job.
I don't have proper legitimate employment.
Who pays you?
My payment isn't to be understood.
I'll start my own business. I don't want to get a job working with somebody anymore.
How are you going to start your own business?
All right, so
Try to open up a thrift store.
How?
Through funding, through small business loans and things like that.
Who's giving you a loan?
I'm not sure yet.
Right inside this encampment, there's beds. You see umbrellas and tarps. People are sleeping in there. They don't want a job. They don't want to go inside. This is where they like to live. It's bigger than some studio apartments here in New York City. You enjoy living out here.
There's some aspect that I very much do appreciate in terms of fresh air. possibly able to be better.
What could the mayor do to help you guys?
All right, whoa, back it up. I never said I needed any help.
I don't know. I can't say nothing bad because my friend works for him, and he does help us.
The mayor is allowing people to sleep out on the streets. What do you have to say to the mayor?
I mean, has that not always been allowed? Mayor Mamdani, I appreciate that you're trying to be a man of the people.
We wanted to talk business owners, but everything's closed. This mechanic, this car wash, everybody's closed up shop because it's not worth doing business out here on 12th Avenue by the Intrepid anymore.
This isn't an accident. It's the agenda. New York City is capitalism's crown jewel. The commies don't want it polished. They want to strip it down and pawn it. Create 10 cities so businesses board up block by block. Look at LA, same strategy. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows.
Okay, guys, I'm going to end on this note. Claude, would you say that doesn't represent New York? I don't know. They're showing New York City. I don't know. Don't get back. I like New York, okay? I'm not a fan of Mamdani. You know. Not a fan. Oh, here we go. We're going to end on this one. And then I'm going to bid y'all a good day so I can do my workout in and get ready for work and all that good stuff and come back later. And later...
That part of the world knows
I'll tell you
that we
that.
are a superpower. If they had any doubts when it comes to energy, we are flexing big time under this president.
We're in on this one.
The prime minister of Iraq's country is scrambling to fill the huge demand for oil now that U.S. forces are preparing that blockade on Iranian ports once again. And the blockade, plus Iran's attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz, sent oil prices back up in just the first 2 days of this week. This is where it sits right now. So we're still below 80, but remember where we were just about a week and a half ago before things got kinetic. And it is not lost on anybody that that's why Iran fires on ships. They want this to happen at home. Look, we can never, ever even go where their economy is, with the grace of God, hopefully never, ever. But it would take their dysfunction, their killing of their own people, a war with the United States to do what has happened to their economy. Ours is hanging tough. The price of oil is hovering now in the upper 70s. We'd like it back into the 60s like it has been in recent days. I want to bring in now former Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland and just hear what she said recently.
The ceasefire's over, but it hasn't gone back up. The price of oil is still, what, roughly, I think it's closed today at about $75, $77 a barrel. So what is that telling me? The Strait of Hormuz isn't that important anymore.
Phil Flynn, oil trader, senior market analyst at the Price Futures Group and Fox Business contributor. So first of all, a reaction to what KT McFarland just said about the lessening of importance of the Strait of Hormuz.
I think she's absolutely right. And that's mainly because of President Trump's policies, right? Drill, baby, drill. You know, what we were able to find through this conflict, Harris, is that the United States is now the world's biggest producer. We're the swing producer. We've taken that away from countries in the Middle East like OPEC and Saudi Arabia, and we're the biggest game in town. Now you're talking about Iraq, for example, meeting with the president. This is huge because Iraq is now the second biggest producer in OPEC after the United Arab Emirates left, right? And they have threatened to even leave OPEC. So the energy world has changed. And guess what? We're the guardian of the energy galaxy now, not just the Strait of Hormuz with President Trump's policies. And that's going to keep prices stable over the long run.
All right. Well, gas prices aren't as stable as we would love them right now because the, price per barrel has gone up a bit, quite a bit, just in recent days. I want to flash up on the screen the national average of gas prices. We are still in the threes, but we're moving slowly, only 2 pennies for regular unleaded between yesterday and today, but today's not over. Just take a look at over the last month. So we've been kind of toggling between $3 and some change and $4 and some change. That is off, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, that's off our highs just recently during this war.
It sure is, and when you talk about the Strait of Hormuz, and it's important to gasoline prices and diesel prices, this was the biggest disruption in history, right? And all the experts thought that if this type of scenario played out, we would have seen gasoline prices at $10 a gallon. We would have seen oil prices at $200 a gallon. None of that's happened. And none of that's happened because the market is betting on a win by the U.S. military. And we're seeing that in the prices today. Even though we're seeing the prices shoot up today, if I look at the back end of the oil curve, they're saying this is going to be over quickly. And that's what they said in the beginning of the conflict. When oil prices were at 119, the back end of the curve said prices are going to come back down. And they did. And I think the market was right then. And I think it's right again now. So do not panic. Good times are coming on this U.S. military action.
Yeah, that is so critical for people to hear because we were reflexively pretty quick, right, in terms of getting those prices to come back down. We had on Senator Langford, James Langford, just moments ago, top the program, and he went into some detail about where we stand in all of this, too. And what we can take away from what he said was, if we become more kinetic, I asked, well, is there a temperature for that? Like, are people going to back this president on the Hill bipartisan? And he said, everybody wants the United States to win on this issue. You know what I think, Phil? They see that we can.
Absolutely. Like, everybody loves a winner, right? Hey, when it's up in the air, nobody wants to jump on the bandwagon, but now it looks like it's going to win. And this is a historic win. This isn't just a little win for the president. This rewrites the global energy power structure, unlike anything we've seen probably since the Second World War, right? The United States is going to control everybody in the world when it comes to energy. If we're controlling the Strait of Hormuz, we have a big say with a lot of influence on OPEC. Major impact on China because they depend on the Strait of Hormuz. And when we look at the victory in Venezuela, raising oil production there, we're a hemispheric global energy power. And I think when this conflict with Iran is over, we're going to realize what a great benefit the U.S. economy is going to get and the U.S. people is going to get and the world when it comes to global security.
All right. I have to mention this because it's like a side-by-side breaking news story today, and that is energy when it comes to artificial intelligence. And I'm not just talking about the complete slide because I'm looking at the numbers right now for IBM and what they said they were willing to spend and what they can't spend anymore on AI. That's just a bones breakdown of it. It's more complicated than that. But they're off by like 26% of trading today. So that's a drag on the Dow, as I understand it. But the flip of that is we've got a governor in New York City who wants to set whether or not you can have more data processing centers, the energy for those in the state of New York. So energy then is in a different category. Can we still lead the world in AI?
We can if we go by the leadership in New York, but we can't if we go with the leadership of President Trump. And the answer is yes, right. And I think it was Secretary Doug Burgum that said, this is the Manhattan Project of this time.
Yes.
This is something we can't afford to lose. This is the future, artificial intelligence. Is it going to take a lot of investment? Absolutely. It's going to take all of our technology know-how? Absolutely. But it's a war we cannot lose because it's about not only our future, but the future of our grandchildren and the future of the country and really the future of the world. So we have to control this. It's going to take a lot of investment, a lot of power. And I think the private sector needs to kick in on this. If you want to build a data center, then you build the ability to power it as well.
Yeah. And that's what we said. I went to 3 Mile Island a few months ago so that I could see what the U.S. government was willing to do. Energy Secretary Chris Wright and I were there, and it's kind of old school. It looks like they closed the doors in 1975 and everything's still green. Because they did a little bit more recently than that, but they basically did and then turn the lights back on. But what that allows Microsoft and others to do is to come in and build their own data centers, supplement that nuclear power for communities, lower the prices for energy for those communities like they could in Pennsylvania. So a lot going on there with that. Phil Flynn, you and I always go wide and broad. I appreciate it. The president does too. So with the prime minister of Iraq here, energy will come up, a whole lot of things. I appreciate your time on this. We're still watching to see what the president will say. He's in the Oval Office. We do know that. We saw the arrival of Iraq's prime minister together, and now we await for that Q&A process with the media in the Oval Office. We'll take it live. Stay close. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News.
Yep, in the chat. So, truth be told, me too. Me too. Thank you for hanging out. You guys, if you want to communicate with me, you guys now respond to my comments under my community post, under any video. Why am I so far away? Ooh, mercy. Thank you guys for helping me hit 32K. I appreciate you guys. I couldn't do it without you. My mods, Damage.Crawl. Thank you guys, Kaiser, for holding me down. Praying for our country, praying for all of you. There's so much more that I want to share, but I only have so much time. So I will be back later today. Claude's throwing fun facts in the chat. Fun facts. Less than, thank you, Jose. Thank you, and congratulations to you again. Less than 1% of water is suitable for drinking. Yeah, and you guys know, I'm in California. We got something going on with fruit, you guys. Wash your fruit well. Be careful. There's viruses and all kinds of things going on. I got to bounce, but it's always awesome being here with you. I try to spread the news. Thank you. So, you guys, I did a short about Nolan Wells, that the kid that came up missing. And where is it? Florida? I can't. My brain is tired. I can't think off the top of my head. Anyways, teen came up missing. Island. Doc. Good morning, Geraldo. Good morning. I did a short on it. I will be covering the case. I have been treading lightly watching. It's so close after Carmelo Anthony. I kind of hate that race is always thrown into things, but we're in the United States. That's just what's happening. Nevertheless, praying for the parents. Praying for the parents. It's never fun. It's every parent's worst nightmare to lose a kid. I don't care what color that kid is. I pray for answers, and that's it. That's it. I'll be sharing that. So I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to lay it down. If you guys want to see my video, just look at my YouTube short. I'll be making more videos on it, and I will see you guys later, okay? God bless you guys, and I will talk to you guys soon. All right. Take care. Kaiser, speedy recovery. Mississippi. I'm sorry I messed it up. I butchered it. You're right, Damage. It was Mississippi. Oh, my God. Why did I say Florida? What case was in Florida? Never mind. That was the Carmelo Anthony case. When I'm tired, I mix things up. Thank you, Damage. But my mods got me. My mods keep me correct. No, Claude, it's not in California. It's not just California, but California is one of the states that, you know, we have to watch our fruit and our vegetables. Kaiser. All right, before I say anything dumb, I'm going to get out of here, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Thank you, Damage, for the correction. I appreciate you.